Hello, everyone. My name is Zach Hicks, your resident film nerd that you all know and love from horseshoehuddle.com and from the Locked On Colts podcast, your favorite co-host from the Locked On Colts podcast. I've been dabbling with the idea of doing more film-related content in video form for somewhere on YouTube in recent years, and I've been trying to find the perfect subject for me to cover throughout the course of a season. I've experimented and dabbled with Rock Ya-Sin film in recent years. I was going to do a whole film thing on Justin Wally this year, but unfortunately that didn't pan out. But luckily I was able to move to my next favorite position, which is the offensive line. And when I was watching back on that Colts first preseason game, the game that Matt Goncalves had just made me really realize that I think he is the guy that I want to focus on this year. So this might just be a trial run. We'll see how long this series really goes and how it really can kick off here for wherever I end up posting this on YouTube. But I want to welcome you all to the Matt Goncalves O-line film breakdown video series and just kind of see where it goes from here. All right, y'all, before we jump into the film, though, I do want to acknowledge where I'm getting some of my terms and some of my biases from when it comes to breaking down offensive line film. My main upbringing, I guess, when it comes to learning about offensive line play comes from the teachings of Howard Mudd, Chris Strasser, which I know can be a little bit different, but Strasser was, someone who learned under Howard Mudd, so I think that there's a pretty good similarity there. Then I went on to like a Pat Meyer type. I watched a lot of Pat Meyer stuff, and then very recently I watched some Jim McNally coaching clinics as well. So that's where a lot of my terms and just the phrases I use are going to come from. But without further ado, let's jump into some of this Matt Goncalves film and break down what the good was and the bad was in his first preseason showing against the Baltimore Ravens. Now, the reason why I really wanted to do this more in a video form than just posting clips here and there is because the Ravens are such a fascinating defensive front. They boast multiple players that are 350 plus pounds. I mean, I think this guy right here against Goncalves is 360, 370 pounds. So it is a really interesting series of matchups for a player like Goncalves, and he has to go through a mixture of speed guys, a mixture of big, powerful guys, athletic guys on each side. So I think it's a really great matchup for a young player just learning the position. And Matt Goncalves is essentially playing his first real start at guard since high school. So it's a very, very different thing for him. But let's jump into this very first clip here. And I have it in slow-mo, and then we're going to go into the faster motion here. But one thing I really noticed about Goncalves on a lot of these clips is his first steps are usually really good. If you look, he has a good wide base. You can see again, keeping those legs wide, keeping them square, getting low. I know it's a little tough for him. He is getting out leveraged a little bit here, but at 6'6", you're not going to win the leverage battle every single time. And then you see where his hands are. He's going with the underblocks here because he's expecting a bull rush from this head up, big 360-pound defensive tackle in front of him. So when we're seeing the first step here, everything is good from Matt Goncalves. We're liking the first step. And even here, we can survive this rep right here. Again, we're a little bit high. The hands are coming up a little bit. But overall, this is a good spot to be in with this rep. All we want to do is get into a little bit of a hop step, and he should be able to win this rep. But 62 does a really good job of displacing the hands, getting Goncalves' hands off him, and Goncalves has to rework his hands back inside, which he actually does a pretty decent job of. He's getting lifted right here by the defensive tackle, but I do think he's doing okay with getting those hands around. But here is where the issues come in with Matt Goncalves on this first rep, and why his first pass blocking rep of the game ends up being a little bit more of a negative rep. So as his hands are getting lifted, and I think this is Jenkins here, again, a 360-pound powerful defensive tackle, is working to the inside, there are two paths that Goncalves can really take with this inside leg. He can either plant it hard and really take away that inside lane. That's more of the old school traditional thought process here. Or he can reverse his pathing here. So let's go back and look at the beginning here. If we look at how Goncalves plays this, see how his right foot is the one that's back, his left foot is the one that's forward. Well, the new age thinking when it comes to a player going inside is just reversing those feet. So you want to reverse those feet, have this foot come forward, this one go back, and slide the player out of the play. and just kind of move with their movement. As Howard Mudd would say, is block the player on the path that they are already going, so you're not working against the grain. It can really work for you as an offensive lineman. What we see here with Goncalves, though, is he opens that gate completely. Like, that gate completely opens. He's not moving his feet, and we're going to see this issue pop up quite a few times. He tries to plant that leg. He tries to get that leg in front to cut off the inside, but when that inside leg is broken, he stops his feet completely. He doesn't slide with the player. And even this little last-ditch effort to put his arm on the hip and wrench the player out of here, he just can't do it because he's not moving those legs. He's not staying sound within his technique. And it ends up being a near hold and a play where your quarterback is going to get hit if he's not releasing that football there. So again, to go back to the beginning of this play, I think the start of the play is pretty solid for Matt Goncalves. Again, we're seeing a good foundational base, getting those hands under in the right spot, losing the hand fighting battle just a little bit, but I think he's still at this position. He's in a good spot, but because he tries to plant that leg instead of sliding with the player and continually moving his legs, he gets beat pretty bad, and Jenkins, I believe this is Jenkins here, is able to get a pretty good pressure on the quarterback. We're going to go into the full speed, and we can kind of see how the whole play went down, but not the greatest rep early for Matt Goncalves in this game. Now, as we get into this second film with Matt Goncalves, you can see there's positive steps being taken, but he's still not quite there yet. So when we watch this play, like when we get into the very first aspects of it, again, the first step's really good. He's taking a little bit off the line here, a little bit more of a passive set, but he's getting to his spot and bracing for contact. We'll talk about more later why I don't think that's the best route for him, but this is one way that you can attack a pass rusher, especially when you're expecting a bull rush from, again, this 350, 360-pound defensive tackle on the interior, and he's going to brace for contact here. So again, good wide base, bracing for that bull rush, getting his hands inside, a little high, but inside his hands are really good. Then, as his hands are broken, does a great job of circling his hands back in, getting them underneath the block and right where they want him to be. So right here, when we're looking just above the waist, because the below the waist is becoming a little bit of a mess, but we're looking just above the waist. Hands are good, a little bit leaning, but hands are really good. Hands are inside, under the shoulders. Really, really good placement here. The problem is these legs right here. These legs, he's losing that wide base. He's not continually chopping those legs and keeping himself square, and because of that, he starts to lose the leverage battle. This is a position that you never want to be in as an offensive lineman. You never want to be where your legs are unbalanced while you're opening your gate to one direction and you're just being controlled by the defender. So as that hand is starting to come out from underneath, this defensive tackle has all the leverage, all the angle, and everything that he's going for on this play, and he's able to displace, get upfield, and get the pressure on the play. So really what you want to see from Goncalves here, again, I think everything is good from right there, initial hit, rework the hands, get the hands in. From right here, though, keep those legs wide and just get back into your hop. Brace for that powerful bull rush, get back into your hop. We don't need to just stop the legs there because you're not going to win many reps in the NFL by stopping your feet. So keep the light on your feet, keep bouncing back. If you have to hop because the bull rush is coming, then it's okay to hop. But the second that those legs start to step over each other and his head gets over his feet, he's already lost this rep. He's leaning too much, he's getting pushed back, and the defender's able to displace him and get around for a pressure on the play. So as we're seeing early in this game with Matt Goncalves, two pretty rough reps on the first series that led to the Colts getting knocked off the field after a couple of plays. Here's it in full motion to see exactly what happened. Well, let's jump into clip 3 now, and something you're going to notice with all these clips is that Matt Goncalves is as Jim McNally would say, the Gilligan's Island guard on each of these plays, which means that he's the guard that's going to be on the island with the one-on-one block. And a lot of times what you want to do is you want to protect your inside shoulder and maybe overplay a little bit to that side because it's easier to run a defender out the outside than to let them cross your quarterback's face and get that quick pressure. And what we'll see on this play from Goncalves is he does a poor job of protecting that inside shoulder as the Gilligan's Island guard on this play. So if you watch here, again, he gets that ankle set. He gets up in his position pretty quick here, but then he slides a little bit away from his center. He loses that help of just his center's natural body position being in there by sliding so far away. So then when he is lunging and he is doing that punch, he's giving up so much room to the interior, and you have to be perfect on your technique to protect yourself here with giving up that much room to the inside. So what we see here, again, he sets too far to the outside. He tries to displace with the one-hand punch, but that one-hand punch probably has to be more on the shoulder if we really want to stop this rush. Because that punch is so far inside, the pass rusher is able to break that hand and create space up the middle, and Goncalves is just reeling from there, and he's forced to kind of win ugly and try to wrench the guy out as much as possible. There are so many ways that this could have been better for Matt Goncalves. I think this is one of his more his rougher reps in this game, so to speak, where again, if we can just keep that inside protected a little bit, like maybe just keep this positioning right here. This positioning right here is good. It's just that one extra slide over, we're really losing that inside leverage that we want to have here. And then your punch has to be perfect. Your feet have to be perfect. And we're losing so much ground. One way that he could have won this, again, even with the punch being a little bit inside, is by sliding his feet. So here he's getting that back foot back. He's starting to pivot back to slide out, but he's not continuing to moving that feet. He is a little bit displaced, and there he's just forced to win ugly by running the guy out of the play. I will say that, he's not cleanly beat here. He's not cleanly beat here. He is able to get enough on the player. That's really good hand placement on the hip there to really run the guy out. So I do think he recovers fairly well, all things considered. Like when you do most things wrong to start a play, to be able to recover like this and keep your quarterback clean enough to deliver a pass, I think that's commendable. But at the end of the day, it just needs to be better than this for Matt Goncalves. And again, it's another learning point here. It's another learning point where you have to protect that inside when you are the Gilligan's Island guard. At this point in the video, you guys are probably watching being like, man, Zach, like, what are the positives here with Matt Goncalves? Are you just making a 30-minute long video just to crap on one of my favorite players or one of these most important players for the Colts? But no, this is where we get into more of the thesis of my argument with Matt Goncalves, because when he is getting into his angle sets and when he's being a little bit more passive as a pass protector, we are seeing a little bit of those issues. But, and this is the most important part, when he is jumping defensive tackles, that is where I really see the potential of Matt Goncalves, because he is at a strength when he is jumping these guys. So let's look at this play here where Matt Goncalves, again, is going to be on that Gilligan's Island against number 91, the same player who just beat him pretty bad on our last clip. And look at how he approaches this play here. He is jumping, getting into him, closing that space, and from right here, he is at a pure advantage point. This defensive tackle is off balance. He is hesitating because of that space closing so quick. Goncalves has still got his legs wide, hands are working into the right place. This is exactly where you want to be as an offensive lineman. Now, at this point, it's on Goncalves to not lean too much, so he is leaning a little bit here, but he's at a point of attack. He's sliding with his player. His feet are moving with the contact, getting his hands inside, and he's able to fight through, and honestly, that should be a penalty right there on the defensive tackle for hands to the face. So this is really where I think Matt Goncalves shined in this game. Is, yes, his angle sets, I think he had a good base to start from, but when the contact happened, he got a little too reserved with his feet, didn't move them the way that he needed to. But once he got into these jump sets, once he jumped these players, closed that ground, and he initiated the contact, this is where we saw Matt Goncalves really shine in his first time playing guard in the NFL. So this is a really good rep. Not his best rep of the game, but a pretty solid rep. Gets on the guy in a hurry and gives his quarterback a chance to get the ball out down the field. Really solid rep. Now getting into this fifth clip, and now we're seeing it really come together for Matt Goncalves in this game. He found a rhythm that really worked for him, and that is these jump sets. When he is jumping and closing the space on these defensive linemen. Again, everything is so good from this rep, from keeping those feet wide, from closing the ground, and something I really love about the way that he jumps here is he's not legitimately hopping at these guys. It's quick little pitter patters, get his feet out there, close that space, get on that defender in a hurry. So look, he's already in position. This defender is still just firing off the ball. He's got one hand super wide, one hand coming up, and Matt Goncalves is already 2 steps in on him. So he's using that explosiveness to his advantage. He's being quick with his sets, and he is getting on the defender in a hurry. So there he's able to absorb the contact, get into a good base, and just completely control the block from there. So excellent rep for Matt Goncalves. We're going to ignore poor Tanner Bortolini getting thrown by a 360-pound defensive tackle there. But Matt Goncalves, this is what you want to see here. Again, good physical jump set, gets really square, controls the block, hands inside, doesn't get his hands broken whatsoever. This is a perfect rep for Matt Goncalves, and this is really what I wanted to see from him in this game, is how can he be when he's aggressive as a pass blocker. Pass pro is not passive. Pass pro can be aggressive, really good, effective firing off there, closing that space, hands inside. A+ rep. This is how you want to teach it to players when it comes to jumping an opponent and getting on them in a hurry. And here it is in full speed. Again, we're going to ignore Tanner Bortolini there. So what do we learn about offensive guard Matt Goncalves in this first preseason game against the Baltimore Ravens? Well, to me, I think that there is a lot of potential in this young player. We saw some really good fundamentals on his passive sets where he is getting his feet square. His initial punch is pretty good, but just some technical things need to be better about protecting that inside shoulder, about keeping his feet moving through contact, and then replacing his hands and getting them where they need to be. But where we really saw him shine as a player is in those jump sets, in those aggressive sets where he's able to close the space with the defender and make them go through his entire body. This is something that I saw a lot with Will Fries over the last couple of years. Will Fries was a player that I studied extensively from his rookie, or I guess his first season, not his rookie season, but his first season of play back in 2022 to his all-pro caliber 2024 season, where he kept growing as a player, but early on, he really built up that jump set ability and that ability to get on defenders in a hurry. And I think Matt Goncalves needs to take a very similar path. Lean into your power, lean into your strength, lean into just your size as a guard, and then work on those fundamentals and work on those little things as you get going. The passive sets and the more vertical and angle sets will come with time, but lean into those jump sets, get on these defensive tackles as quickly as possible, and lock down those reps as quick as you can. I think there is a really good path for Matt Goncalves to succeed in this NFL. It's just going to take a little bit of time. So I hope you guys enjoyed this first series into the Matt Goncalves film room. Leave a like below if you enjoyed it. And we'll catch you guys back next week to break down even more of the film on this young, intriguing right guard in Matt Goncalves.